You're listening to a DM podcast.
So today's guest is Gus Worland, and we're going to be talking about some sensitive subjects. So, if there's going to be a trigger warning there that you might want to switch off or listen to one of our other podcasts because it may not be for
Well, you
everybody.
mightn't be in the right mind space today, and maybe
right.
down the track you will. You can always come back to it.
Absolutely.
But again, we'll put everything on the show notes relative to mental health that we will be discussing with Gus today too.
Yeah.
So just a little warning up front.
And for the ones listening, enjoy.
Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world, and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Nicola, OMG, that's all I can say, is I repeat OMG. We did the launch of Over the Back Fence.
We did it together.
We did the big launch.
And we did it as a
Yeah,
tribe.
on
We
the
did it with
weekend.
Sam. We did it with Bree. We just did it with the whole
I think
team.
the world came. The world and his
came.
wife.
There's a few photographers there because you've got to capture the moment that,
I think your partner said,
Yeah.
I've never seen so many photographers in
Exactly.
the house.
Isn't that so funny? So Richard's had every sort of like film
was
crew or whatever in
brilliant.
the place there.
The
and
whole
our-
night Nick was going, over here a photo,
Exactly, there's
over
gonna
here
be
a photo, over here a
exactly.
photo. I'm
But,
like, wow,
yeah,
Nicola,
woohoo.
you could have been a
That's right.
producer on a public relations company. You just best networker, brilliant with Insta. And there you were working that room, baby.
Hey, baby. Well, it's just you do what you love and love what you do,
Yeah,
and that's
right
exact.
on.
And it was just such a buzz, and it was fun sharing the moment. Like we're saying, you celebrate the big things and small things. And, for us, it's still, it's a small podcast and there's so many out there. But this is sort of something, it's a passion project for us. And it was sort of us doing this together. And we always sort of said if we help one person, and we did that
Done
on
the
our
job.
very first one.
And there was
And
a
now
love in
it's-
also. There was so much
Yeah.
support there on the launch night, on the Friday night. Like so many people, I mean, I'm going to use the word tentacles, so many tentacles running out from us. And people just so happy, so excited, so enthused. And it filled our cup, it was champagne.
Exactly, that's right. Funny, and it just kept on overflowing. Champagne, the little bit of
And
the Dr.
another-
V was
yeah.
happening too.
I was having
wasn't it?
I was having Negronis, Dr. V's with vodka, champagne.
And the food.
No wonder my
Well,
head was
Butler
thumping
catering.
the
I think
next
I
day.
ate too much.
Yeah,
I'm
the
a bit
food
of a
was
diet
mind-blowing.
from that
42
too.
chicken and mushroom pies. Because, I don't know.
I'm
I always
still
have
wearing
to
Camilla.
drink
I haven't taken
You
it off, I
are.
don't think.
You slept in it.
No, I'm still sort of waking up.
It was
like from the
insane
party.
though. And then a few speeches. We also, if some of you have listened to, I think it was one of our first potties with Leslie Bernadette, who worked for Qantas, who was the alcoholic. Very, very funny. She came out in the Qantas uniform. Everyone was rolling with laughter. Great entertainment. Look, and dancing. Simply the best.
Yeah.
Dun, dun. I think I was flipped over
I
someone's
know, so
back.
you win the prize of the best dancer and singer. That's
And
true.
wait a minute, a really tight Camilla. I don't know how that happened anyway.
You look sexy. He doesn't look sexy, Camilla. But I love it. I think in one of the speeches there, if you're going to break out in a song, I think you did.
Oh, God, I hope I didn't. See, I never remember what I say. That's a scary bit. People are still talking to me today, listeners, so it must have been
But the
not
people
too
from,
bad.
like the gorgeous people from, Diamantina, where we recorded our back fence
Incredible.
here.
They're the
And,
most fun.
So much
They
fun.
ran the
Suited
bar.
guys. They did. They took over the bar there at Richards. It was good. And Fred the Cobber Dog, he loved the limelight too, didn't he? He was,
Fred
the
was
entertainment. He
in
was
like
there.
Flynn. But there was a sea of love.
Sea of love, but we had
Yeah.
our friends from way back. We had our family there. You
Yes.
you had your brothers.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I drove. Well, I didn't drive. I walked dog leg to a girlfriend's house and drove home the following day, and just driving thinking, oh, I'm so on such a high. I can't come down from it. It wasn't alcohol. I was on such a high, mainly because of the people who have supported us.
Yep, and I think that's
Right?
it, and it's interesting because, our next guest is Gus Worland, and he's, talks about his Gotcha4Life, and he's, with Triple M, and, it's all happy and fine and good, and so you have to celebrate the good times, but as we know, and that's why it's great to celebrate our podcast, and thank you
Yes.
everyone for listening,
Yeah.
But, we all have tough times, and you and I have had tough times, and it's actually sharing it and being open about it.
Yeah.
So for the listeners to coming on next too, that,
a change of pace
it's an absolute
now.
change
Yeah.
of pace.
Yeah.
But I
And
think
that
that's
is life,
important
as
because that's
Nicola
life,
said.
as you were saying, it is a roller coaster of the good
is.
times, which you got to celebrate
It's
them.
true.
Because we all know before,
Yep.
then it's not going to be a good time. And
No.
But there's people there to support one another. And so it was
Absolutely.
great that, we
Well,
supported
that was our
one
village.
another. Our
on
village.
Friday night.
And sharing
Gus
it.
is going to talk about another
And
village.
but you know what? Our listeners are all our village, and we just sort of
Yes.
expand that and just keep on expanding the
true.
love there.
So true. Yeah, and so Gus Worland talks a lot about hugs and how important that is.
Oh, who doesn't love a
and
hug?
honestly, I wanted to give him the world's biggest hug. But Nicola and I hug. Like hugging is so important.
Always.
So
Always.
important.
Yeah.
And we were doing a video across to Gus, the one you're about to hear. And it's such a shame because we love a bear hug, don't
And
we?
you know what? Every single sort of guest has just given some gems of wisdom, and this one here is extra special too. So I hope that you all enjoy it.
I hope so, yeah. We thought it was amazing. And
Absolutely.
I hope that,
Gus, we love you.
Yeah, we sure do, and more power to you.
So who have we got here, Diney? Who have we got today? Who's in our back
Okey-dokey.
fence today?
Oh, leaning on the back
Who's
fence.
leaning on the back fence?
I'm sure many of you have heard of Gus Worland. I know I remember Gus from the old Triple M grill days. But honestly, I used to laugh myself stupid on radio, morning radio. And for those that know Gus from radio, there's another side we're going to see of Gus today, because after the death of a mentor and father figure in his life, Gus made an about turn with his career to try and make sense of it all, yet ultimately started a long overdue chat around the stigma attached to mental health and suicide. Gus strives to unravel the traditional values around masculinity, often attached to suicide, with the ABC series Man Up, which we both saw yesterday and we loved it. Following the successful TV series in 2019, Gus started, as we all know it today, the Gotcha4Life Foundation. I think that name says it all. With a mission to inspire and enable others to take action to build their mental fitness so no one worries alone. I just love that. Gus is a prolific keynote speaker and talks to audiences of all demographics all over Australia. Gus was recently selected to speak at TED 2023. Was it Canada where you did the chat?
Vancouver.
Wow,
Good
bravo.
old Vancouver. Nicola and I were just sharing that we were both in tears watching the TED Talk. So for all of those listeners, please get
do.
an opportunity.
I liked it so much, I watched it twice.
No, seriously,
I
it
loved
gets you. And no doubt, Gus, you speak from the heart. So without any further ado, welcome to Gus Worland to Over the Back Fence.
Welcome, Gus.
Oh, thank you. It's so lovely just to be over the back fence with you ladies.
Hanging.
Leaning against it, having a nice cuppa, or we have got something a little bit stronger.
Well, we
I think
usually do. It's
I've got a
water.
little bit of a Dr. V here collagen drink
Oh, I
here.
forgot about
which
that
is
one.
kind of nice too. It keeps
pour
you
that one
healthy,
in.
and hydrated and all the rest. But
After a big weekend.
so after Ty's intro, I'm a bit sort of like, wow, and we're really honoured that you are here, Gus. But tell us how your world changed after the death of your friend or mentor.
Yeah, well, he had been sort of like a father figure to me all my life. Just to give your listeners a little bit of background, he was sort of 10 years older than me, my cousin's boyfriend, then my cousin's husband, and I followed him around like a little boy when I was a little boy, and then when I got older, a couple of times he had to give me a bit of a clip across the ear to get myself going, and there was other times when he said to me, look, I think you've got something special. I think you'll be a good salesman. I want you to come and work with me and for me, which I did for nearly 8 years at Toshiba Australia, and then a couple of years at Toshiba in the UK. And that's where I got the phone call to say that he had died, and then only moments later that he'd actually taken his own life. And I flew back to Australia, went and saw a policeman. I said, there's no way someone like he would do that. He's good looking, he's got children, he's got money, he's got influence, he's got just so much going for him. And that's when I learnt my first lesson, when the sergeant put his arm around me and said, let's go for a cup of tea. And he explained to me that suicide doesn't discriminate, and that we lose 7 blokes a day every day and 2 women every day. That's 9 Aussies that woke up this morning that won't wake up tomorrow morning. It'll be the same thing the next day and the same thing the next day. And I couldn't believe it. So it absolutely knocked me for six, but I did what most blokes do. I drank on the anniversary, shouted at the sky a little bit, and did nothing else until one morning on the grill team, I did say to Maddie and MG, I need to get vulnerable today.
And that's a big deal, because we're talking about the grill team was all about Yahoo fun laughter.
Yeah.
And you've stepped in and made this major, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable. That's a massive transition for what you're used to on that time slot.
That's right. And you guys would know, like producing shows and coming in and doing shows. I'm at Triple M right now, I do the drive show now, but just literally there in that room there, it was 4:15 every morning. We'd sit down and go, right, what are we going to do today? At 6 o'clock, we're live. We better come up with some content. And of course, we scoured the papers and a lot of sport, a lot of jokes and so forth. It was a big thing to go vulnerable and to talk about something that had been buried in my tummy all this time. And Maddie and MG said, we're not going to take the mickey this time. We'll support you. And that's what I was after. And
isn't that great?
It's so wonderful having that support.
Yeah. And I switched on the mic and told the story, and so many people then phoned up and said, well, thanks for your story, Gus, but can I now tell you mine? It was like I'd give them permission to actually tell the stuff that they never thought they'd be able to talk about. So from that moment on, I realised so many people are worrying alone. Conversation can save a life, but we don't quite know how to have the conversation, especially men. So I better get on my bike and try to do something about it. And that's when Man Up came. And then obviously Gotcha4Life after Man Up, because I wasn't finished. I took Man Up as a bit of a job. I realised about 10 days into filming that it was going to be much more than that. And then in the end, it's literally my life now. I do Triple M to pay the bills, but Gotcha4Life is my heart, and it's what I want to be remembered for.
You know, I just wanted to take Gus back to, if I may, because some of the subjective material today is going in deep into our hearts, plus yours, Gus. But it was interesting listening to some of the bio about Gus talking about the funeral and sharing his feelings with other people, how everyone that he spoke to at that funeral was blindsided by this death.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. The life of the party is quite often the one that takes his own life, and people are so shocked. And you hear all the time, well, the last time I saw them, they were in great form, or the last time I saw them, they seemed to be really happy. I worry about the lives of the parties these days with all the information that I know. I don't worry so much about the person who tells me they're seeing a counsellor or they're on medication, because they're getting help, they're getting the support. What we've got at the moment is a whole lot of blokes in Australia, but not just blokes, all Aussies. It's a human issue. I've worked that out. Are actually worrying alone so much about stuff because they haven't got the words to actually come out and start talking about it. And that's really what Gotcha4Life is trying to do now, is give them the emotional muscle to be able to have the conversation that could save their life, or could just allow them to get whatever's on their chest or what they've been buried out. And that's really the key, is to find someone in your life who's Gotcha4Life to have that conversation with. And that could be a professional. As long as you have it with someone, then you're much more likely to get through the type of stuff that life is throwing at us. And believe me, they're throwing plenty at us at the moment. Pre-COVID, the world's a slightly different place.
How do you suggest then, how do you start out? What does somebody say to somebody? You know, like if you sort of think this person's really happy, but they're hiding it because under the big smile.
Too.
But, you know, when you're saying it, and I love the thing you're going, fitness, like, you know, emotional fitness there, what are your tips, or what have you learned, or what do you suggest for people listening that we can take from?
Where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, if someone is actually showing signs of sort of getting away from the group and is not happy, that's the easy one, right? Because you go, mate, I can tell things aren't right. So then you just go, you know what? I'm in your team. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to drive you to the hospital. I'm going to drive you to the doctor. I'll have the day off when you go to your psych. Like, I go to a psych visit. A couple of my mates go on the same day. Then we meet in the afternoon and have a game of golf. So we make the most out of something that is actually quite difficult. So that's an easy one. But what I say to people, like you say, emotional muscle, mental fitness, if you talk about mental fitness, just like physical fitness, it means that you're going to be working on it. So what I say to people is start building your village around you. The people that you love and adore and you can't imagine living without, start putting some proper work into them. By simply sending them a text message starts the whole thing. Like standing at that mental fitness gym when that door opens up when you go a little bit closer to the glass doors, that's your moment to go, you know what? I'm going to send a text message to all the people that I love. And that is so much easier than having that conversation where you're face to face and tears are running down your nose and snot's running out of your face. Literally just send them a text message saying, I'm putting a list together of all the people that I love and you're one of them. I just wanted you to know that. Now, that is such a lovely thing to receive, to get a bit of unsolicited love from someone. A is fantastic, but it'll start a conversation where you can go, you know what? That is so lovely for you to hear that. Or someone goes, are you drunk? Or someone goes,
What's he saying?
Was that message for me? Like, it just starts a conversation one way or the other. And that's all we're trying to do at the moment,
isn't it?
is start the convo.
That's simple too, isn't it?
It's interesting when Gus was just talking about the village, because you often talk about your tribe. I think with things like climate change and mental health, people glaze over because it's almost too hard to confront. It's almost, oh, I can't go there. And yet that was such a simplified way of approaching it. Well, start with your village.
That's it. I said at TED, I said, maybe we could in this room, like I didn't say it wasn't part of the version because I spoke a bit more than what was actually edited. I said, maybe in this room there's enough influence and money to actually make the difference around the whole planet. But I said, most of it individually will leave Vancouver, you'll be in your car driving home or you'll be in the plane. Just write down a list of the people you love and adore, send the message to them. When was the last time you guys wrote down a list of names on a bit of paper of the people you loved and adored and you couldn't imagine living without? I bet you've never done it. And you know why? Because no one's ever done it. So let's go back to kindy and just write down who your best mates are.
Wow.
Who's my best friend? Write them down and then go to work on them. And I say to people, I did a 90-minute session after TED with people at TED who wanted to come for a bit more of a deep dive into the work I'm doing. And what I said to them, right, before I start anything, write down your list of people you love and adore, and then give yourself a mark out of 10 for how you're performing within those relationships. If there's a 7 out of 10 or below, they're the people you need to contact today to let them know that you're thinking of them. Don't take these relationships for granted. Let's work on the people that we love. And if it's a bit uncomfortable when you're saying, I love you, and they're not quite sure how to say it back, well, tough. This is our moment to get a bit uncomfortable with the people that we love. Remembering that they're people that we love, they love us. So it will be awkward, but we'll get through it if we just
Particularly the guys when you're saying, I love you, mate.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So much, and giving them a cuddle, right? Like every time I see Richard, I give him a big cuddle. Every time I see big buffy blokes, and they are some big buffy blokes out there. Merv Hughes, the cricketer, a great mate, he's on Triple M with me. Yeah. He sees me, he just goes like that. He opens up. It used to be, hello, mate, how you good? Yeah. And I'm like, and it's just boom, and we're two guts collide and we sort of give each other a cuddle
it's
and
like,
whatever.
like when you're doing Man Up. Remember when he was doing that? For those that haven't seen Man Up on the ABC, you walk around the streets, I'm not sure which city you're in, and you are looking for man hugs.
Bear hugs.
And it literally
bear
wasn't
hugs.
bear hug.
I reckon we should do a bear hug
We
here.
can do a bear hug.
And we're sending...
This is my buddy.
We-
She's got my back.
Yeah,
I've got her
absolutely.
back.
So I'd love to give you a big bear hug.
Yeah, I wish you
now.
were here to hug.
Richard
Coming
loves
in.
Woo! Richard does love a big, we'll call him a big bear, and he does love a big bear. And he said also that you went to school with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, we've been best. We actually
How's
went to Pymble Public together, which was our
how's that?
kindergarten school. So remember that first day at school when they say, "Okay, turn around and hold hands with someone," and I got a steely handshake from the Wolverine. You know,
That's great.
but yeah, he's been my bestie. He's been my bestie since the age of 5.
Yeah.
We then went to Knox together. Then we went on our gap year. And then obviously his life has just gone to a completely different level. We spoke literally this morning from New York. I was only over there with him. He actually looks really massive at the moment. He's getting himself ready for Wolverine. He just had a week in London starting that new show with Ryan Reynolds, the Wolverine one. So he's a fantastic friend. He's godfather to my firstborn. I'm godfather to Oscar, his firstborn. And yeah, we've just been able to, maneuver through our lives, making sure that we've always stayed best mates. And not only me, there's a group of us from Knox that have got a WhatsApp group that everyone is on. And every day we've got different messages from people that live in Europe now, America and Australia. And we just all keep in contact with each other. We love each other. There's not a handshake to be seen. There's hugs everywhere. And there's no doubt they're my Gotcha4Life buddies, as they are for Jacko.
Have you had Hugh involved at all with Gotcha4Life?
Yeah, so he's been fantastic. He's been great doing, fundraisers where I sort of can, say to people, do you want to come to New York and bid for that opportunity to have some breakfast with him? We've done that 5 times.
Fabulous.
Last time we actually went to the show on the Saturday night, the Music Man, then we had the brekkie the next morning. And I actually share that with another charity called Save Our Sons that I've been an ambassador for, which is a charity that's very close to my heart as well. So I give them a couple of spots at that table so they can earn some money. Jacko's very happy to sit there for a couple of hours. He's a wonderful host. He always picks up the bill. He's extremely generous.
We love that.
And he's beautiful. The thing I love about him is he literally has not changed from the moment. And Richard would have interviewed him for the last 25 years, and I bet you he says he's exactly the same person as when he first saw him, and that's exactly true.
Wow. That is spot on. And with Deborah too, like from years back, that sort of as a couple, and they're so supportive. It's great, and then I was saying with Rob Clarick and then Leone, and I was just saying Leone's a big fan too of yours.
Well, big shout out to Leone. Big hug to you.
Gus, just steering you back to the subject that I think we need to address.
Yeah, we could talk forever,
we
couldn't
could.
we?
Well, I think we literally could. I think our producer's going, oh, here we go, those two. What I love is something you said, coming back to suicide, because I just think it's so important to discuss in this day and age. But it's a permanent decision based on a temporary situation. Yeah. And that resonated with me. Like, you're talking...
That resonated with the TED people too. When you do TED, you do a whole lot of sort of, have a few goes at it to build up whatever because I do a normal 45-minute keynote. It was a 10-minute chat on TED, so I didn't know what to put in and what to put out. I kept saying that, and they went, you've got to make sure you say that because that resonates with us. And what I'm basically saying is that I believe our friend Angus, that he made a decision that was permanent based on a situation that was temporary, i.e. if he'd put his hand up and said, I need some help over here, no matter how difficult it was, there would have been that many people rallying because he'd helped so many other people. They would have gone, okay, mate, I don't know quite what to do, but I'm listening. So let's work through what this is. And eventually we would have been able to work through it. And that's what I'm saying to everyone. Everyone at the moment who's worrying alone, as soon as you open up and you talk from your heart with some vulnerability, all of a sudden people go, oh yeah, I'm like that. Oh yeah, that happened to me. Oh, my brother did that. And all of a sudden it opens up all these options where people go, I thought I was the only one. No, we're all bumbling through life a little bit looking for the light in the dark. We're stubbing our toe every now and again. You girls don't look as glamorous as that every single second of the day. You know what I mean?
We try.
We're all doing our best. We're bumbling around, and that's what being a human is, which is why my focus for men initially because of the Man Up and Angus, but now it's for all humans because we are losing 2 women a day every single day, plus there's 65,000 attempts a year of suicide. Most of those are women, so it's a human issue.
When you say 65,000 attempts, that's on
a year.
In Australia or on a world level?
In Australia.
You are kidding me.
We have 38,000 attempts a day around the world.
Now, listeners, I hope that we're not saying those stats too fast because that's just whacked me. Can I just repeat it? 65, I'm feeling a little bit shaky, 65,000 people in this country attempt and
every
or
single year.
Follow through
That's right.
with suicide.
So 9 Aussies that woke up this morning won't wake up tomorrow morning. 65,000 attempts, which is one every few minutes. And around the world, the numbers are just over 1,900 that kill themselves a day and nearly 40,000 attempt, 38,000 and change.
So Gus, sorry to interrupt, I was just going to say that with those stats, Is there hope, and is there hope from what you're doing now with Gotcha, like from what you're saying there, because
when you work in prevention, it's always really hard, right? You just need to step up to the plate because you don't have a lot of info coming your way.
No.
However, we did have a 5.4% drop in the suicide rate last year,
Yay.
which was 170
Wow.
people less than the year before. So still double the road toll, still over 3,000. We literally celebrated for a New York minute, and then we went, right, let's get back on the horse again. So that gave us hope, and that's what I'm trying to give everyone else. Let's simplify it down to mental fitness, looking after your village,
Love that.
having some difficult conversations with people that you love. That's our way of simplifying it, taking away the white coat and the wellness and all that. I was out with the miners last week. It was quite funny. I was in New York the week before, all posh and so forth, having these wonderful meals. And with the miners out in Tamworth last week, that's where sort of this work takes me. And I'm sitting there, every single person's the same, no matter where you are. Yeah. We're all looking for connection, and we're all looking for our tribe, our village, our people. And once you've got those, then be vulnerable with them, because they're the ones that can help you through the good times as well as the times that are a little bit tougher.
Don't be afraid to open up.
Don't be afraid. I think we've all been. I've been in the fetal position you have, and everyone's hit rock bottom at different stages. And I think the longer you live, and we're like, feel grateful
Life's a
that
roller
we have,
coaster.
but it certainly is too. And it's certainly we've sort of said that when we've hit our hard times too. What's pulled us out is our friends.
Yep.
And it's being there at the lowest point. And, when you're saying sometimes, and I love that, Gus, just even a simple text, because sometimes you don't always want to see someone when you're in a spot and I haven't got the glamour jacket on and you're,
it's true.
and, you're curled up in a ball and you're crying, but you get ping of a text. And gosh, that can make a difference, And
just
one
a little
person.
bit of connection. However you want to do it, go to someone's house. Remember, we kept hearing these stories through COVID where someone would just find a little gift pack at their door.
Yes.
Someone didn't want to ring the bell and make a big deal of it. It's like someone else gives a shit about me. Someone else cares about me. Someone else has given me a little bit of love. And you go, thank you. I'm not on my own here. Send a simple text message to your village. And what I say is, I love you. I miss you. See you soon. Kiss, hug, and send it. And
give us the variety of responses you've had from that.
Well, I've had everything. There was this one lady. She was a nurse. There was a hospital I did a chat with before COVID, and I asked everyone to send the text at the end. So people are laughing, going, "Oh, I don't know if I want to," and blah blah blah. Anyway, there was this lady just poised over the send button, and I was walking around the room. There was 1,000 people there, and I was wondering, and I went, "What's wrong?" She goes, "Oh, I want to send it to this bloke. About a year ago we dated. I can't stop thinking about it, but we fumbled and bumbled our way at the end of the night. It was a little bit awkward." And I said, "We've all been there. Just send it. Don't worry about it, Why have you spent a year worrying about it? Just go for it." So anyway, bang. Well, in about 3 months' time, they're getting married.
No! Whoa. Are you kidding me?
No. So that's
you're a matchmaker.
Matchmaker.
That's one extreme.
Make me
That's beautiful.
So that's one extreme, and then you get people, if a bloke sends that, "I love you, I miss you, see you soon," to another bloke, guaranteed within 45 seconds phone call.
What's wrong?
Like, what the F is going on, brother? And that's always funny, because I say that, and I go, "Let's just wait for the phone call," then it rings, and everyone goes, "Oh," and I go, "Well, it's because you don't get these type of texts normally, right? So it's out of the blue, and if a bloke gets it from a bloke, you're like, well, that's a goodbye. Yeah. So I need to check in. So and that makes
grabs
the
their
best
attention,
example,
doesn't it?
It's the best example for you to go, why aren't we having more of these conversations so they don't stand out as much? Because when they stand out as much as that means that they're probably not happening enough. So let's start making those things happen a bit more. I did something with the miners the other day, and excuse my French, but I got them all to stand up, and I said, "Hold on to your bits and bobs." Let's call them bits and bobs. And I said, "Now hold on to your bits and bobs, turn to the bloke next to you and say that you love him." And everyone laughed and joked and so forth, and then turn to the left and tell the bloke you love him as well. So that's what happened. I said, "Now take your hands off your bits and bobs." And I said, are they still there? And they all looked. I said, "It's amazing, isn't it? You keep your bits and bobs even when you're a bit vulnerable." So
wow, that's great. I love that.
That's
a goodie.
It's simple, right? And we need to do that. When most blokes tell me that they get turned off, just like you said, Di, at the start. You said, you hear mental health, you just go, "Oh, here we go." You hear climate change, "Oh, here we go."
Wow. Yep.
We need to simplify it down to, you know what, I just want you to look after your mates and the people that you love. Can you do that? And people go, yeah, I can do that. Well, here's some skills to do it. Let's keep it as simple as that, rather than worrying about all the other stuff, which just turns most blokes off.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And how do we help with Gotcha4Life, like for listeners here? What can we do? What
Where
can
do we
listeners
start?
do?
I mean, there's a couple of different ways. Of course, you know, it all sounds crude when you ask for money, but of course, you know, people can
Not
go
at
on.
all.
You can go onto our site and you can see that we're the State of Origin charity partner for the next 5 weeks with the girls'
Great.
games as well as the men's game.
That's awesome.
You can buy a virtual pass, a bit like a pink seat to the test match, where for $40 you can put someone in a workshop that they wouldn't normally get into, and that really helps. Or if you've got a skill set that someone may have listening and goes, you know, I'm a really good, like our lawyer is someone that just loved us and didn't necessarily have the money to pay us, but he goes, I'll do all your law stuff. So every contract that comes across our desk, we don't have to pay for someone to do that.
Okay.
The person that does all our financing stuff, you know, checking the, dropping the T's and crossing the I's or whatever it is. I'm not very good at that sort of stuff, but we've got a firm that does that because they go, that's going to cost you 15 grand. We'll put someone on that for nothing. So, you know, there's a whole lot of different ways you can, but the best way that you could help me is to let me know that you've checked in with your village and that someone has said, thank you so much for thinking of me, because that's the
you're
key.
beautiful.
You just just listening to you warms my heart.
I know.
But I want to ask a question because, Gus, because you put so much into this, you put so much into life, how do you look after yourself?
Yeah, that's probably Jacko's biggest fear, and certainly my board's fear is that, you know, what happens if something happens to you? Because I just don't say no, and I love doing the work that I do. And if I get an opportunity to stand up and talk, I know I can help people. So I really need to be, my radio team are actually trying to help me a bit at the moment. We'll get that balance right.
Yes.
But I do have a lady, I used to call her a witch, now I call her an angel, who just rips into me, you know. She hears my voice, she knows that I'm getting to the end of a time where I need to get a bit of rest and so forth. And her name's Leanne. She's actually a little bit spiritual in terms of, like, the first time I saw her, I was filling in the form, you know, at the start of when you sit down with a new patient. I was filling in the form. She goes, oh, your grandfather's here? I was sort of looking around. Well, my grandfathers had passed many, many years before. And she goes, your father on your dad's side? And I said, well, I don't want to talk to him. I never got along well with him. And I said the whole chat. And I'm like, I'm actually invested in a conversation about my grandfather's ghost. And I'm like, what am I doing? And she goes, that's the type of stuff that will come. So if you believe in that stuff, which I'm not arrogant enough to not believe in it, so I just go with it, right?
Oh, great.
And I've sent 20 of my mates there, 15 love her, 5 think that, you know, it's
She's kooky.
complete waste. But I'm a believer in that sort of stuff. So sometimes, like I spoke to her before TED because I was worried about it, and she just goes, it'll be fine. I've already seen it.
What were you worried about with the TED? The most confident. I'm looking at you. You're the most confident person I've seen in years. Like where were the fear? What was surfacing?
I had a bit of imposter syndrome that whether or not I should be on that particular stage or not, because I've had that stage in my head as the number one for so long, and I just thought, what if I get this opportunity and muck it up? And I suppose everyone has that moment in their life where they think that might happen. But it went really well, and thank you for watching it.
Sure
and
did, as I said twice.
Tears pouring out.
Goosebumps.
I want the
The UN came knocking too, so I'm off to New York next
Oh,
month.
you're kidding. Wow. Gus.
There was this lady, she was a Japanese-American lady, and she walked up to me and said, oh, do you mind if I sit down? I was just having lunch by myself. I said, no worries. So she sat down, she goes, I'm Japanese, we're not allowed to cry. Like, it's just not what we do.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, we'll chat. And she goes, I'm from the UN. And I said, I was at the University of Nebraska.
Sounds good.
Winning
She was
points by the minute,
That's
not.
right.
Yeah, she was like, no, the United Nations. And I went, oh, I'm so sorry. Like,
Heard of that.
What an idiot, you know. And she said, I'm putting together
Gold.
a forum on mental health. And I said, what do you mean mental fitness? And she goes, yeah, mental fitness. And we chatted, and she said, I'd love you to come over and do it. So
Congratulations. That's
came back to
wonderful.
Triple M and said, do you mind if I have another week? I'm going to go speak at the UN. And they were so, I mean, Triple M has a huge responsibility talking to so many men every single day that we should be better not just making them laugh and give away concert tickets and movie tickets.
Yeah.
We should be educating, and I think mental fitness is a good way to do that. So they've been right behind me ever since I've come back to the station,
and ever
they said,
since
"Go
you
for
were
it."
vulnerable, really on radio, Gus.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it.
and I know
Started-
I come back to that, but showing a vulnerability changed everything for you
And it's a
ultimately.
good point you're bringing it up, Joe,
Yeah.
because it is, and it's sort of, Gus, there, we all need to be vulnerable because you feel a bit embarrassed sometimes and whatever, but it takes sort of like that courage, or if you F it up, as you said, who cares?
So true.
You know,
Yeah.
like what's
That's
the worst
right.
that can happen? You know, or they don't text you back, but you've got someone else to text you, but you've done something good.
Yes.
And so I think that's a great thing of being
I think
vulnerable.
Brave.
Leading with vulnerability is actually, and being authentic.
Yep.
So if you put authentic and vulnerability as a combo, well, however you want to do that
Yep.
in your own way with your own character and personality, if you're doing that, then you are a real chance of A, getting rid of a whole lot of people that shouldn't be with you because
Yep.
they're with you for the wrong reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
But B, making an even more solid pack of your village or your tribe or whatever you want to call them. And then as we spend the next 20 or 30 years of our lives with the people that actually are our people rather than all the wank and ceremony that can go with life. So that's what I'm all about.
Well, Gus, you're about so many
Incredible.
things, and you had your own podcast. Have you still got that? Is that on hold at the moment?
Yeah,
or,
so it's called Not an Overnight Success. So
Love
that was
it.
the reason I went over to New York, was to do a couple over there, which will be launched in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. And then I've got a list of Aussies, and hopefully Rich will be one of those. And I just want to speak to some iconic people from sport, from TV, and just talk about the little rabbit warrens that we all go under. Because everyone thinks someone's successful, that they've just gone from A to B without a drama.
You're normalizing it all rather than making it something that's taboo.
That's right. And realising people make some really poor decisions at times, and they wonder if they're ever going to come back from them. I remember spoke to Lane Beachley, won 7 surfing world titles, and she was, I mean, the women surfers now should, and they do this, should salute her for what she did for them
Hear.
through the 80s and 90s.
True.
So you've got someone like Lainey, who's just, the first one who responded to my TED with the text message that I told everyone. She's just an absolute bloody
Women
ripper.
trying
And
to
And when you're saying
on.
authentic, I remember being on a flight with her, and I used to be with the airlines, and I had my daughter on the flight, and she was only about 7, and she knew Lane because she surfed in Northern Beaches and knew Lane Beach, and she went up to her and said, "Oh, hi," and Lane gave her like a photograph of her and said, "What's your name?" And she said, said Gabriella, and then she said, "Reach for the stars." And Gabriella's still, she's only 30, has still got it. I'll never forget that. And so as a mother, and I said, "What did she write?" And I thought, wow, there's that bit of
beautiful.
inspiration there to a little young girl. It's like, nearly then you can do anything. You can,
Oh,
and I just thought, how beautiful.
She's beautiful. And she said to me, like, getting back to the balance question that you asked me before, and she's just basically in the same boat, right? There's so much stuff that's asked of her and so much work that she wants to do and so forth. And she said it's a hell yes or a fuck no.
Yeah, that's
So
good, isn't
if
it?
someone says to me,
Very
like, you guys
loud.
asked me to come on, I'm like, it's a hell yes, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
I organise them a schedule. I make sure that I'm available. I make sure I'm up for it. There's no half-assed here.
No.
We go for it, right, to do the right thing. There might be another 10 podcasts, and they might be bigger or smaller, I wouldn't know. But for whatever reason, didn't suit what I was doing. So I can't even think about them again. So that's a fuck no, they're out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if I worry about upsetting people or saying no or whatever,
Yeah.
you can never get on with the people that you're saying the hell yes to. So I got that from Lainey, and
That's a good tip,
that's
isn't
I think
it?
a pretty good way to live your life, because then you're fully in, or you're at least thinking about what you're going to do, because you've got let everything else just go.
That's great, because we've always sort of said, and especially maybe it's more for a female thing, Gus, is a lot of women, we used to be people pleasers a bit, and we couldn't say no, because you think,
Yeah.
oh, you can't do that, they're going to let them down, and even if you're exhausted or whatever, oh no, I'm fine, I can do that. Where it's funny, with age now,
Yeah.
we're not
it's
afraid.
called NO.
Yeah, no.
You want
No,
dinner?
full stop. Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Get your
We
own.
love the word
Your
no.
own.
It's not well, we've got a couple of little signature questions for you, Gus.
Okay.
Okie dokie. If you had the opportunity of saying something to your 20-year-old self, what do you think you would be having a little chat about?
Yeah, exactly what you just said about being a people pleaser, and with age, I've sort of worked stuff out. So I would say to my 20-year-old self, you don't have to say yes to everyone. Just pick the people that are important to you and stick with that. You don't have to be the favourite of every group and go to every party and do everything for everyone else. Just give yourself a break and work out who your village is a bit earlier and just focus on them.
I love that, how we keep coming back to that village. To me, that was the thing it really shone in the TED Talk, was about that.
Absolutely. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's superb.
Well, if on the back fence, if you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth, Gus, who would it be and why?
Oh, it's a biggie.
Well, I mean,
Hopefully something you haven't seen for a while, hey?
yeah. Well, if I,
You're looking at us here.
well, we can have one of those fences where there's 4 houses all.
Oh, don't you love it? See, he's embracing everyone. I love that.
No. Anybody on planet Earth.
Okay, well, I mean, there's lots of people that I love, right now and so forth. But I say at the end of a lot of my chats, I'd give anything to have a beer or a cuppa or something with my friend Gus, who took his own life.
Oh, God, why didn't I even think of that?
I would,
wow.
if you could give me a minute.
Yeah.
There was a lady that worked at Toshiba called Belinda, and I'm sure she won't mind me talking about this. She now works at Microsoft, and her and I were like a bit of a tag team, and we always got along very well. People always thought that we were dating, but we never were. We were just, in fact, those relationships you have with a guy when you're not having sex, they're like really, really strong, but he hasn't got that sexual tension thing going on.
Yeah.
And so that was Belle and I, and she wrote me this beautiful note at the end of the TED saying, Gus would be so proud of you and what you're doing. And I hadn't really thought about it too much, but that was sort of the cream on top, or the cherry on top for me, the fact that he would be really pleased that I've got off my ass and had a real crack at this and tried to stop other families going through what we went through.
He certainly would
incredible.
be proud of you, and we're proud of you. So many people from Australia, the world, United Nations to come are proud of you, Gus.
You're an angel on earth, Gus.
You really
in
are.
my
But,
eyes. You are,
Thank you.
and you're keeping Gus's dream alive.
Yep.
And having said that, keeping hopefully others alive, and on behalf of Australia in particular, thank you for what you do.
We thank you so much, and we'll be letting all our listeners
and the
know
world.
that
It's going on around the world, not just here.
we support you, and and all the way. And
We've
I've
got
certainly
your
learnt some
back.
tips. Yeah, we've got your back. But a
Well,
big bear
thank you.
hug
Yeah,
to
I wish
you.
why can't we do it? Damn it!
There'll be a time where we can have a G&T.
That's more like it.
Absolutely. Coming over, exactly.
Such
Good.
a pleasure.
Well, thank you so
Drive
much
past-
again, Gus.
I think I saw you in Balmoral once. Maybe we
With
can
the
just
dog.
duck down there.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Yep.
have a feed one day and have a
love
G&T.
it.
That'd be
Definitely.
nice.
Hey,
Come
listen,
over
you
to-
look after yourself.
Yeah, we
You give
adore you.
so much. Give back to you to remember that.
I will.
Deep
Thank
breath.
you. Thanks for
Yeah,
your
so
time.
thank
Such
you
a
so much.
pleasure.
And thank you everyone for
care.
listening today. Oh, Gus, can you stay just for one tip?
Yeah, don't leave ever.
Our producer, here is Sam.
Thank you. I'm here crying.
She's actually
I lost my
she's a coach.
I
a
lost
life
my
coach.
stepbrother to suicide a long time ago, and I lost my friend. And I do tons for mental and emotional fitness, so I didn't actually know what we were talking about today. But it's been really lovely to listen to everything that you're doing, and I'm constantly talking to men about this stuff because of my brother and because of my friend. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh, Sam, it's my pleasure, and I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. I really am.
Thanks, Gus.
We just finished an interview with Gus Worland talking about Gotcha4Life.
Oh, I've still got goosebumps.
Me too, and
all
my
over,
heart's
really.
almost racing a little bit because it really got me about particularly the stats around suicide in this country.
I know, that's just absolutely mind-blowing. There was a little bit of hope, which is always good, and I always think a little bit of hope is a good thing.
Yeah.
And just by the simple tools of mental fitness there. And in that podcast there too, at the end, we've got our beautiful producer, gorgeous friend Sam. And you came in to, first of all, sort of say, look, can you hang in there for 30 seconds to do this?
Yeah.
And then...
Professional, but...
And then there was tears, and can you share...
She's human.
And then...
Yeah, so we just
what happened?
decided to get Sam back on the microphone. And just maybe either A, share the story, B, how you felt during that interview. We just thought that would be just
however
helpful.
you feel, yes.
It was, for me, it was just amazing to hear Gus speaking today. I didn't know what he would be talking about, and I lost my stepbrother to suicide a long time ago. I was 13 and he was 16. And that started, I guess, a fascination for me with mental health and with what goes on for people that they don't talk about. And so for me to hear Gus talk about how it really is just about connecting, about having a conversation, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I do a lot of work with people on their mental and emotional health. And I think one of the best things for any listener or anyone to know is that sometimes we don't talk about, or suicide in particular, because we think if we say the word suicide to someone that it's going to like put the thought in their head, and the best thing you can possibly do is to bring it up, is to talk, is to ask a person, you know, how they're going. You obviously don't have to bring up suicide in every conversation, but if someone is really struggling, it's okay to say, have you ever had thoughts like this before? Because that's how people get help. It's not, we need to just talk about it more and more and more. So I'm just super thankful for the work that Gus is doing, because it really is, if we can all just check in with each other more, it really is as simple as that, you know.
And you were affected by Gus continue talking about the mind gym.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about, which I actually didn't know, you'd started an ebook, is that right? Around
yeah,
that
so I actually created an ebook with a beautiful friend of mine, my business partner, a few years ago for Mental Health Month, called 31 Days of Mental and Emotional Fitness. And the reason we called it that is because, like Gus, I guess, you know, we want people to see their mental health as something that, in order to have really great mental health, we need to work on it like we would work on any part of our fitness. So when people think about being physically fit, they know, oh, look, if I'm going to be physically fit, I have to move often. I have to move, you know, probably every day, but I need to go to the gym or whatever it might be. But I need to be active in order to be fit. And so I think that word fit, if we use fitness and we think about our mental health like that, it gets people to realize, oh, this is not about I'm waiting until I'm struggling to look after my mind and my emotions. What about if I did something every day that improves my mental fitness, improves my emotional fitness? There's so many things.
Give me some examples.
Yeah, what are some of your ones? I'd love to hear.
In the 31 days, there's so many things, and we have all the research around what helps. But it's things like, so a gratitude practice, number one thing you can do for your mental fitness.
Do you express
I love
gratitude?
gratitude.
Because that's part of your nature, though.
Well, I write in my diary, you know, I have my diary every single day, and I'll always find something to be grateful for. Look for the joy every day. And I think if you search for it, and I suppose it is like a mental fitness, it makes my mind look for something, even if you think your day's been crap, you know, a shitty day.
Yeah.
It might be something, one little tiny thing.
Yeah.
One little tiny thing. That
It was
good.
vanilla ice cream at the end of the day.
Some other beautiful ones that would relate to Gus as well, like laughter. That is a simple, if you can actively look for something in your day to laugh at, we know that laughter releases all kinds of feel-good hormones, but one of them is oxytocin, which is the same hormone that's released when we connect with a friend. When we hug a friend or a loved one, that oxytocin makes us feel loved and bonded, and that gets released when we laugh. So if you're having a tough day, just go to whatever makes you laugh, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a YouTube clip, anything. Laughter is the easiest one. Another awesome one is kindness. So if you do a kind act for another person, again,
compassion.
The benefits of what is released hormonally in your body, what is happening in your brain when you are doing something kind, it's like this contagious ripple effect, because the person that experiences the benefits of kindness is the person doing the kind deed, the person receiving the kind deed, and anyone who witnessed that happen,
ripple
they
effect.
Also experience. And we know what that's like. If you see someone do something kind for someone else, it makes you feel like so lovely inside. So that's just 3, but there's 31 that we came up with. Meditation is one of them. 100%.
Right.
Yeah. So these
just
are
stopping, quietening.
totally
mind.
Stopping, because meditation is like rewiring your neural pathways. I think the funniest thing with meditation is people think that they say, oh, I'm not good at meditating.
To be really zen.
You know, I'm not. I'm really not good at it. And I say, you know, the point is you don't want to meditate to be good at meditating. Like, who needs to be good at sitting still doing nothing? Like, the point.
That's right.
The point of the practice is that the more you do it, you're literally creating a pathway to the calmer parts of your brain that are accessed when you're still, so that in your life, when you're faced with stress or suffering or something difficult, your brain has that pathway to travel down because you created it in meditation at another time. So meditation is like this preventative thing. We're not meditating just so that we can be these Zen monks. It's so that our brain has these pathways which accesses the calmer parts of our brain so that we can use it when we really need it, when we're stressed or when we're...
Battery pack.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like...
It was really great to
That was
actually. This was Nicola's idea, and I think it's brilliant to bring Sam in.
Well, you were
Nicola.
vulnerable when Gus was saying about being vulnerable. When you came there, that just was a surprise.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yes.
unstaged.
Yeah. I mean, she's at a panel, like, working as a
but
producer.
you
And how
were,
that-
you had the courage and you was vulnerable and you opened up and shared your story
Yes.
there. And that's when I thought, let's bring you in and it's like
As long as
expand
you were
on that.
okay with that, and you were.
And
so.
hear about, your
Yeah.
brother as well.
Yeah,
So that's
it's
just
nice to bring a
beautiful.
personal story
'Cause it-
on the back of Gus's
I
interview.
sort of think he would be proud of you too when he was sort of saying how Gus would be, and you sort of think, for Tim there going, look to baby sister now, look what she's doing. And so thank you so
All the
much, Sam. That was
spirits.
just so
Yeah,
beautiful.
beautiful.
And you've helped
Thank you.
Appreciate
so many
you
people.
sharing it.
Yeah, you really have.
And to all the listeners, we'll be putting a lot of information on our show
too.
notes relative to, of course, mental health and
Gotcha4Life, how
also
you can
and a
support.
lot about Gotcha4Life. So thanks again, Sam.
Thank you
Sam,
so
and
much.
thank you everyone for
We'll put
listening.
the number for Lifeline for anyone. If anyone is struggling and they need to talk to someone, we'll put that number in our show notes.
Fabulous. Thanks,
Thanks.
sweetheart. Well, guys, we look forward to joining us at the back fence next Monday.
Yeah, so tell your friends, rate and review. How many stars do we want, Didi?
25, and even though it only says
I think
4.
I think it says 4 or 5 stars. Because really, I'm just learning, but that's really the only way that community
Spread the
grows and
word.
spread the word.
Yeah,
So share
it's
the
true.
potty to friends, and
That's what it's all about.
and thank
to
you for
share it.
listening.
And look forward to chatting with you on Monday. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.